The squirrels. Da-da.
Ba 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 da da dang. Big things
Big
that
things
have
are
dropped.
happening, dropping all around us.
What did you see over the last few days that I've also seen?
There's what's it called again? I forget what it's called.
This little indie film. You might not know it from a pretty unknown studio.
It's
I
not
think
on. It's quite rare. Rare you can catch it in cinemas.
I think it's the second one. I don't know if it's a series. I imagine people probably haven't seen
I can't imagine
something
many have seen the first one. To be fair,
Galaxy Quest, not Galaxy Quest.
Gorgy Galaxy.
God, there's a little
There's like
it's
a
like a vole. There's a little angry vole, and there's a root man. There's a root baby.
and like a toad girl.
Cut the bullshit. We saw Guardians of the Galaxy, yes.
Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, we did, and it.
I saw it. You saw it.
I saw it twice.
No, I almost wanna. You've seen it twice.
I've seen it twice.
So this is the defining verdict on Guardians of the Galaxy, because among us, among two mere mortal men, we have seen it an unfathomable amount of three times.
Oh,
Martin, what is it better than the first one?
it is just as enjoyable. If not, I would say probably more enjoyable.
Really?
Yes, I really enjoyed it. I do want to go watch it again.
I mean, you've seen it twice.
I know. I want to see it a third time.
And can we just unanimously, we wanked all over the first film, didn't we?
Yes.
To put it lightly. Like, I still think the first Guardians is a hot contender for possible front runner of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, for
At
sure.
least, if not the best, certainly the most subversive, the most out there, the most oddball, the most film and cultural literate, perhaps the best time, with a mix of its kind of jukebox pop aesthetics and soundtrack to its like snappy, out of the park humor, courtesy of the great James Gunn, who I'm glad to see goes from strength to strength because I've loved him back when he was, not to sound like the
It sounds like you are.
well, okay, to sound like that, I liked him before he was cool. I did. I used to love, well, I loved Slither, his first film he wrote and directed. Then he did Super, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. Which was a kind of even darker, even more violent, even more satirical subversion on the kind of superhero story than even Kick-Ass, which it unfortunately came out about a few months too late afterwards to kind of get the recognition it deserved, and not to do down Kick-Ass, which I think is Kick-Ass.
Oh,
But I think Super, if anything, is the edgier, the funnier, the more out there take on the genre. And seeing James Gunn absolutely nail it on the first film was, I think, a kind of vindication. This is one of us. This is a nerd who's grown out of, the kind of the trauma school of filmmaking into the mainstream, and he's carried along every sensibility and every conviction along the way in making a big mainstream tentpole studio release. And now Martin's saying he's done it again, and if not more so.
I would say strongly, yeah.
Yeah.
There
Uh,
go on.
Go on. No, you go on,
Oh,
sir.
I'll go on. I was going to ask you your thoughts on the depth of the film.
Um, I, okay. It sounds like I'm like rearing up to kind of do it down. I'm not. For me, it's not as good as the first. Obviously, for me, just because the first had such a level of surprise and invention
That's it. It was something very new.
and whim. It had such whim to it, which I think on for the most part, the second one zips along at a right old pace and is proper good fun. And like I said before, Marvel did what I was already on board with Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And then they were like, oh, have a bit of Kurt Russell. I was like, oh, don't mind if I do. I
Oh,
love Kurt Russell. And it's true. There was, okay, Ah, no, that maybe is a spoiler. Maybe we'll get into that in a moment. But I love Kurt Russell, so I was already like, it's like having a big cake and then being like, "Hey, do you want a stripper on the cake?" Oh, wow, I like cake.
As
Yeah,
long
but
as she
here's a
takes her
strip.
heels off.
Yeah, or well, yeah, I would imagine she's got everything off. Otherwise, it's not worth my time. No, that's awful. But I don't think it's good as the first for my money. I don't think it quite sustains its pace as well. For me, there was a kind of big, quite. For me, it felt too long, which is an odd thing to say because it is constantly entertaining. But there was a kind of slump in the middle portion of the film where things were kind of careering off in different directions. There are kind of
Yes,
there's a
I'd agree.
focal narrative of Quinn and Quill and meeting his father, which isn't giving anything away because Kurt Russell plays his father, Ego, the planet Ego, which is a mainstay of the Guardians universe, as I understand it. That's kind of the main focal point of it, which it's about the bonding of father son, and but then there's something going off on the side, which though entertaining in its own right, I never find totally neither quite gelled. It was just kind of this is your story you're being dealt, and then there's other stuff going off on the sidelines
Being
as well. It
funny
was
on the side.
being funny and consistently be funny and having moments of that pathos and that humor and that creativity that you saw abound in the first film, but never quite pulling it all together for me. And like I say, it's not to say I didn't find it constantly colorful and engaging. And these are characters that I like being around. I still think Drax is my absolute
Oh,
favorite.
definite.
Everything and Dave Batista's every delivery of his lines, I just find absolutely hilarious. From his opening gambit, pretty much the first joke that fires off in the film is a joke to do with Drax's sensitive nipples, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. Like, it just sent me off in fits that I was, and it does a wonderful thing of when you're still chuckling after about to do with a joke, and once another joke has landed, but you're still laughing at the last one because there is a kind of pretty sturdy hit rate
There
of
is.
jokes, and there's a nice kind of reprise to that joke towards the end. So I did like it. I thought it was, it's they've got it down to a formula. The writing's so good, the characters are so good, and it, like I say, it's always visually and auditorily. Um, you got everything from ELO's Mr. Bright Sky. You got obviously the kind of motif is of the song motif is The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, and then you've got Cat Stevens towards the end. I won't give away what song, but it's quite a nice choice of song. So there's that, like I say, that jukebox soundtrack, the Awesome Mix Volume 2 theme is, and there's a really, again, we don't want to just give away any good jokes because that's kind of the joy of seeing it. There's a great joke to do with what precedes his little Walkman. I thought that was very funny, but overall for me, it didn't have the same, wow, look at me surprise.
I think that's
And
probably because it's been done
it can't,
before.
obviously it can't, and it did have moments that I found sagged to a point. And to me, the kind of one thing, and this isn't, again, it's not criticizing because I did urge anyone to see it. I think it's a great, really fun film, but it didn't feel like the first one felt like it needed to exist. This was the shot in the arm that the Marvel Cinematic Universe had, although consistently good, needed. It needed something with a bit more subversion and, oddball wit. This film never feels like it needs to exist aside from the need to deliver another fun
Yes,
stop
that's it.
in the
There's
Marvel
there's
Cinematic
no
Universe.
real progression.
There's no real progression. There's nothing. Obviously, Peter goes through a degree of a journey, but in the end, everyone's to more or less extent where they were at the beginning. There's no. It doesn't feel like there's a kind of proper thematic or like there's nothing propelling it as a text within the
Universe.
the universe, or even on a meta level or a micro level. It's like within the narrative, the grand overarching narrative, it doesn't feel like a story that needs to be told the way Civil War did or something like that.
No.
Or even, Winter Soldier, or it doesn't also feel like a kind of there's a cultural need for it. We don't, Guardians of the Galaxy did that. It scratched that itch. It gave us that shot in the arm, that, buzz. And this one isn't, it is to an extent more of the same. But when more of the same is this entertaining and funny, you can't complain so much because
No. Embrace it.
But it sounds like you enjoyed it even more, which is great, I think.
So I think they, in terms of visuals, they stepped it up massively.
It's lovely, really lush, screen filling vistas, and there's so much going on, especially when you do get into the Ego's planet and so on. There's a lot going on, and it looks great and it sounds great,
It does exactly that. And because basically the way I viewed the first time I saw the film is I went to a special. So I watched the first film this is all 3D IMAX. I've never seen it before. This is why I went.
Oh yeah, how does it look in 3D?
Really good.
Yeah,
really good. Definitely worth watching.
Oh.
And then obviously we had a short break, but then the second film came straight on, and you could see just the quality of each shot, the colours that were going on. It was just like a progressive step, which was really sort of. It was really quite obvious when you see one straight after the other.
Yeah, well, it has made me. This is the weird thing. You say you want to watch it again. Weirdly, it made me. I've seen the first film 4 or 5 times, probably. Well, maybe at least 3 or 4 times, definitely. And it's made me want to watch it again. But I haven't come out going, God, I really want to see Guardians Volume 2 again. I haven't had that yet. It's quite likely I will see it again, and I'll enjoy it again. But it didn't do anything groundbreaking for me on any level. But
when I watched it the second time, I watched it then the following night, and I realised just how quick it seemed to finish for me. You said how it seemed long for you.
Yeah, that's
I thought it was very quick. I didn't think a huge amount happened.
That's what I mean. I don't think a huge amount happens in the film. And that's why there was a moment in the middle that kind of lagged. And also there is, okay, I don't know, brief spoiler warning, but it's not a great mystery to say that I think Kurt Russell being in the end a kind of bad guy.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a huge, well, it is a spoiler, but whatever. For me, this isn't a fault of the film, but for the kind of godly regard that I hold Kurt Russell in it, that I prescribe to Kurt Russell, whenever that fight was going on, I was like, how am I not meant to be rooting for Kurt Russell? I'm always going to be rooting for Kurt Russell. Like, there's no time I won't be. So, as much as I like Peter Quill and Chris Pratt, it's, it's Kurt Russell, man.
Well, I don't have those affections for that man.
He's just amazing. He's glorious. And I was in the opening shot. You know how Marvel have this kind of hard on for making their actors young. They did it with Michael Douglas. They did it with Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. Really like doing a young. And I was like, from the opening shot on Earth, I was literally like, I tell you, I was like, they're definitely gonna do a young Kurt Russell, and they did.
They nailed it.
They nailed it. It looks just like him. God, he looks good. I would watch that I'd watch a whole film of just young Kurt Russell driving around with his massive feathery locks. Oh God, he's just such a great guy.
Well, moving on from that.
Sorry, yeah.
A lot of the reviews I've heard were, and even before I saw it, was it's the Groot show. And
and there is this argument. Some people are saying, quite cynically, that perhaps it's just having him as just Baby Groot is a bit of a kind of marketing thing, so they can just sell shitloads of very cute Baby Groot toys.
Which they will.
which they will, of course. And to a point, he is good. And then there's that lovely little gag at the end where it's kind of teenage Groot, which I thought was very funny.
Oh, that's a spoiler, by the way.
Oh, fucking, we've done, spoiler gate. You've all seen it. Well, I did a spoiler warning for the Kurt Russell
Oh,
bit.
there you go,
Tune
yeah.
back in now for no more spoilers. Yeah, a bit too many stings though at the end. What did he do? Five post
There were
credits.
5, yes, and
It was a good way because it meant you never had to watch the credits for too long before there was another one again.
no, and it was,
And
do you know all about
yeah.
the post-credit scenes, about all of them?
I know about a few of them. It's funny that you had the Watchers pop up.
Yes.
I've been expecting to see for a while in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or in the kind of Avengers world or whatever. And they were one of those ones that I thought would eventually become quite a. But in this, they were just a kind of throwaway gag with Stan Lee, which I thought it was quite funny.
But it's solidified that the whole theory of Stan Lee being a Watcher. He doesn't actually play Stan Lee; he plays a character.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of well, they like to give people room to ruminate on that.
Well, that's
I did
it. They've
like this.
clarified that. He is actually playing a Watcher.
Is he?
It's not just Stan Lee being an appearance. He is a Watcher, and that's why he's in every episode, every film, pretty much, apart from Logan. I think it's been.
Is it? Well, he's not in the. He's not in. Well, yeah, he's in. He's in all the MCU films, and then there's a couple of the Fox and Sony ones that he's not in. But yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. We're probably just opening up now about the film.
But yeah, Roundup was so overall. You thought it was good.
I thought it was good. It's beautiful. The sound is amazing. The songs are fantastic. The characters are lovable. You want to watch it. You need to watch it, and it'll be a great watch no matter what.
It will. No, it's a totally good, super fun, really likable. They've still got a lot of goodwill on their side. This kind of troupe, and the charisma's just shines through. It's a totally good film. I don't want to do it down by saying that I didn't totally gravitate towards it the way I did the first film. But for me, I don't think I ever was going to. But yeah, it's a comfy pair of slippers. Marvel has become that, and it does not disappoint, to be honest, really. Apart from my slightly more pernickety, I want a bit more. Maybe that's
more of a
greedy.
storyline, but I think it's just a filler film until the Thanos fear, the whole thing kicks off.
And James Gunn is coming back to do Guardians of the Galaxy 3. He announced recently on his Facebook.
Yes,
he's a good person to follow on Facebook, by the way. He's got a lot, really, really engages with his community, and he's very honest. Kind of strips away all the bullshit between kind of writer director and the audience, and he really engages with his fans and people commenting, and so on. And it's quite refreshing to see.
Well, everyone follow him after you follow us.
Yeah, us first though, please.
Please.
Yeah, he's got enough followers. We need more. Right.
Quick, how many stars do you give it? I'm going to give it 4 out of 5.
What are we doing out?
5?
Shit, what we do? Out of 10 or 5?
Out of 10, I'd give it 8.
Out of 10, I'd probably give it a solid 7.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll give it a solid 7. And 7's good, man.
Okay.
6 is good.
Oh.
5's average. 6 is good. 7's great. 8's brilliant. 9's wank me off, senseless. 10 is unheard of. Can I just put our ranking system in here? People, the media have kind of dumbed down especially with kind of games media and stuff like that. I've always found people go, "Oh, I only got a 7. It must be shit." 7's good, man. If I give something a 7, I mean, that's fucking good. If I listen to an album, I give it a 7 out of 10. That's it's a real good album. That's an album I suggest people listen to. If I give it an 8 out of 10, that's an excellent album. An 8 out of 10 is excellent. 9 out of 10 is off the scale. Obviously, a 10 is near unheard of. Speaking of, so you give it a.
I'm going to give it an 8.
7. That's a resounding thumbs up from us.
Yes.
Now, prepare. I'd say put your anoraks on, because I'm about to
unload.
Splooge all over the new Mastodon album, which I have been listening to. The review's taken quite a while. I'm doing my written review for Clunk at the moment as well, and it's taken a while, partly because of my own busy schedule, and partly because it's an album that I did want to kind of live with for a while, as opposed to just hearing it and going, "It's fucking great." Which don't get me wrong, it's really fucking great. But obviously, Mastodon are, I've said it a lot of times, quite probably um, the best band making music today. Certainly the best band in the rock metal scene making music today. They've had some detractors over the last of this decade, from when they moved from their they did 4 elementally themed grand concept albums that had real kind of heavy edge and progressive out there songwriting, and they were really kind of, well, they made a mark on the modern rock scene like pretty few other bands have made this century, I for my money. But they've moved into their last 2 records being more of a kind of mixtape side. They just throw a load of good out of songs into a track listing. This album, called Emperor Sand, came out last month, sees a return to the kind of grander thematic concept album framework that they've worked with in the past. This time dealing with the kind of pretty lofty theme of time and death, which is the band had a lot of kind of brushes with terminal illness and cancer over the last few years, from the bassist and one of the lead singers, Troy Sanders' wife, being diagnosed and fighting breast cancer, to the loss of the guitarist Bill Kellener's mother, to Brandaler, the drummer's mother, having dealt with for all her life. And there's been a lot of kind of weighty stuff going on, and they turn that into a kind of a narrative of a man being given a death sentence by the titular Emperor of Sand. And the album tells the story of his trek through this kind of ancient apocalyptic desert, where he calls up for aid from different kind of mythological and ancient deities from different religions. You've got references to like Aztec and Arabic deity god kind of creatures, and it's this weird, heady, progressive acid trip journey through through death and the desert, and it's got a real kind of texture to it. But it's just, where do I say all the good things about this album? I'll try and keep it relatively brief because I can go on about this for a while. But they've managed to, firstly, take that real proggy, real heavy, riff-based album style that they pioneered on their first 4 records, and the more pop, radio hook-driven, more hard rock style of their last 2 albums, The Hunter and Once More Around the Sun, into the first album, I'd say, of this decade, which feels totally cohesive, and the whole thing plays like a grand tale that has ups and downs and movements and towering crescendos, but it never skimps on the kind of immediacy that the last 2 records has. There are songs that are kind of proggy and long and kind of noodly and go down these weird passageways and big kind of psychedelic guitar solos and stuff like that, but then pretty much every song throws out an absolute banger of a chorus that, super immediate, super catchy, with songs like Show Yourself, which was one of the lead singles, being one of the most immediate catchy rock songs I've heard of the year, and then Steam Breather, a mid-album track, which is just super epic but super catchy. And then you've got like kind of heavier stuff. The opening riff from Roots Remains calls back to their earliest album with really big, heavy riffs and instrumentation. Brandaler's drum fills are just still, he's no one can accuse him of being a lazy drummer. He throws a lot into the mix. And yeah, the guitar solos, courtesy of Brett Hines, are just out of this world. Every song, if you're looking for like riff per minute density. This is firing them out left, right, and every fucking where.
All of the directions.
All over the place. You've got riffs hitting you, that you don't even expect. The songs take turns and builds, and I don't know, what I thought were my favorite songs on the albums now are not, and I've got other favorite songs. There are songs that are really knocking on the door of their top 10 or top 5 best songs ever. There's the final closing track, which is the longest and kind of perhaps most proggy song, is Jaguar God, which is this gentle and ponderous and quite poignant opening that then builds and builds into this kind of cataclysmic, howling, terrifying crescendo towards the end. And it's just something amazing to behold. And like I say, but that doesn't do, there are kind of genuinely ethereal climaxes from the likes of Ancient Kingdoms, which I think is just amazing. And oh man, I don't know. You're gonna have to reel me in on this, because I was slightly trepidatious the way I built this album up, especially going back and writing about every album on the days before Emperor of Sand dropped for our Instagram for our album of the day. I really hyped this album up to myself, and there was a little kind of reserved part of me that was like, it can't, it's not going to live up to what you're building for yourself. But
has it lived up to?
It really has.
Everything you thought it would be.
It really, really has. If I'm gonna try and nitpick, perhaps Brett Hines, the kind of lead guitarist, who used to have more of a forefront in the singing department, which the bassist Troy Sanders, the drummer Brandaler, and Brett Hines share vocal duties, but because of their more accessible turn in the last few years, Brandaler, who has the kind of cleaner, more kind of attractive singing voice, he carries a lot of the weight, as well as Troy Sanders, the bassist, who's really come on leaps and bounds as a singer as opposed to just a growler and a shouter. Brett Hines, he's always had this kind of weirdly reptilian, Godzilla-like howl. If you ever listen to some of his stuff on their third album, Blood Mountain, you can really hear that kind of literally like Godzilla shredding a guitar. It's amazing. Maybe I would have liked to pushed him a bit more into the forefront, had a bit more of his vocal influence. But these are minor gripes to something that, I don't know, really, really fucking knocks out of the park. And it's I don't know. Like I say, it's got the kind of big, proggy, weird song structures of their fourth album, Crack the Sky. It's got some of the biggest and most immediate hooks since Leviathan, their second album, which for my money is pretty much the best album of this century, or definitely best metal album of this century. But then it's got the immediacy and the catchiness and the, if anything, radio friendly hooks of their last two records, and it manages to find a common ground between these quite disparate sounds. And I think if you're an old hardcore Mastodon fan and you don't like this, I think you're a fool, and you're hanging on to something that you don't want a band to be making the same music they did on their first two LPs. You want them to be pushing it. You want them to be trying to build something a bit grander and a bit more interesting, a bit more introspective, and this really does it on every front for me. I think it fucking kills.
Do you think the old hardcore fans, knew him before they were sort of big kind of people? Do you reckon they'll be sort of saying they've sold out a bit? They are pushing towards the radio side of things. Yeah,
people do, because there are songs on this. You listen to their first album, Remission, which their first full length. It's it hasn't got a chorus in sight. These are just, they didn't care about chorus. They didn't have time for choruses. They just threw a fuckload of riffs. They howled. They chucked it all together into something that was kind of wild and mythological and untamed. But these guys are very, very music literate guys. They're not just about
loud noises.
Yeah, heavy metal and hardcore and and things like that. They've got influences clearly that span everything from fucking Pink Floyd, King Crimson, Led Zeppelin, all the way up to more kind of weird proggy stuff. Like,
Harry
and they
Potter.
do. There are songs on this that people have. I've heard people poo-pooing because when they come out, I look through other people's responses as well. And that, like I say, that lead single, "Show Yourself," people are going, "Oh, it just sounds like Foo Fighters. It just sounds like Queens of the Stone Age." To a point in that it's playing within the same ballpark of, mainstream radio friendly and it catchy groove rock, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it's the thing is, as an album, as a complete work, it kind of validates your quibbles with a genuine kind of sense of composition and scale and balance, and it balances these hooks with more kind of like I say, it's a album that goes through movements, and then you have big highs, and it tells a tale, and it all kind of there's a lot of facets to it. And I think if you just discard them because they're not punching you in the face as hard and they're not as edgy, or they're give them some credit as songwriters. They're doing things that are new and are pushing themselves, and there's still the heavy stuff there. There are still some songs that you wouldn't want to play to your mum because they're loud, and they've got heavy distorted guitars, and they've got a guy slamming his drums as hard as he can, but they can also sing, and they can also write melodies, and they can also write things that are going to get stuck in your head and you want to listen to, no matter what your mood or the pace of listening you want to undertake. I think it's a resounding success. I think for me, it's to say it's in their top 4 albums sounds like I'm doing it down, but when you understand how highly I think of, well, certainly 3 of their albums, I'd say it's in their top 4. This is their 7th album, by the way. To say this is in their, for me, this is a band who have done 3 10 out of 10 albums.
Wow, so there's a lot of hand in penis moments,
and that's I can't.
What would you rate this one then?
I'll give it a 9. Gonna give it a 9 out of 10.
Solid.
A solid 9.
Especially after you've just heard what a 9 means to you.
A 9 is, and who knows, in a year or 2 down the line, maybe this will show itself as a 10. I don't know. I don't want to give it a 10 yet. I don't think I've lived with it long enough. I can't say that. But like I say, their 3 albums, between their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th albums, Leviathan, Blood Mountain, and Crack the Sky, are, for me, 3 absolute nailed on 10 out of 10s. And a few bands have done that. Well, Bowie's done it. Nick Cave's had at least 3, not in a row. Nick Cave's never had 3 in a row. Led Zeppelin pretty much did it between 2, 3, and 4. If anything, Led Zeppelin maybe did more. But these, when you're comparing it to people like your Led Zeppelins, your Beatles and stuff, they're obviously playing in perhaps a different ballpark. But I think down the line, I think it's coming, but down the line, Mastodon will be regarded as one of those bands, one of those absolutely kings of their genre. I think they almost are. There's been a lot going on around this. They are going to be, I don't want to compare them to Metallica because I'm not the biggest Metallica fan, but I mean, they are going to be like, everyone knows Metallica. When a Metallica album comes out, you know about it. And they're a metal band.
Yeah, and I think they've definitely bridged the gap between just metal fans knowing about them to suddenly everyone knows who they are.
Metallica are one of the biggest bands in the world, regardless of genre, for good or whatever reason. But Metallica are, their album came out last year. It was the biggest album in the world. It's they're somewhat of a gateway drug, let's say, to metal. They are, and a lot. Anyone can listen to. You can put on a couple of the Metallica's albums, like you can put on Master of Puppets, and even if you don't know, them, some of those songs, some of those riffs. You can put on Enter Sandman, or the Black Album, and everyone knows them. It's one of those things. Everyone knows them the same way everyone knows Nirvana, and everyone knows certain Foo Fighters songs that people, But I think Mastodon, They're doing more. They're doing more in their field than for me, Metallica have had.
Yeah.
They're not forerunners the way Metallica works. Metallica, like you say, Metallica made for a period of time between the mid '80s and the early '90s. Metallica made metal the biggest genre in music in the world. We're far from that now. Obviously, I don't see it happening anytime soon. Metal being the biggest genre, or even hard rock.
Unless they come along and sort of slam Little Mix in the face.
I don't know, but
Nothing's changing.
Yeah, Mastodon are going to be, if they're, I don't know. For me, it's mental. They're not headlining things like Download yet. They're still playing 4 or 5 down the bill on Download's main stage, and that's crazy to me. How they're not a kind of legacy band yet. 7 albums in, they're big. They're absolutely big. You go into any HMV in London, their record on vinyl is one of the
top ones,
first ones you see. But yeah, it's big. It's good stuff. Let's move on.
Let's move on to games. We haven't really spoke about a game lately.
You've got a game to tell us about.
I've got a game. It's just come out on Xbox One. So it's City Skylines. It's been out on PC for a good number of years now.
I've heard talk of it, so refresh my memory.
Refresh it. So it is a full-on, your Sim City. You're building your streets, your trains, your piping, like your sewage and all that, electricity. Yeah. It's that. It is a SimCity game, sort of at its core. But then you delve in, you're digging deeper with it all. It's very much like a traffic management game. You're pleasing all of your districts, let's say, and your majority of your time is spent, and your time goes fast, by the way. You do not run out of things to do. You're trying to basically reduce the number of pop-ups saying, "Oh, garbage needs clearing. There's a fire here." It
sounds like hell.
To get to the point where there's none of these around anymore. That's the aim, pretty much, to have a smooth running city. And it's like I say, every little thing runs after one. So you'll build an area, then you got to build up another area to feed that area of people. And then it is just a constant battle.
It's the grind, isn't it?
It gets you in the grind. But your time really does fly. The level of detail is impressive, down to like placing bushes to where you want them.
Yeah, it's a good-looking game, right? Better than
really good-looking game.
Any SimCity has been.
Yes, I haven't played the most recent. I think the most recent one came out in 2013, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know.
Or something.
But that's it on Xbox. From what I've seen on PC, it's just vastly more detailed. It's incredible the amount of detail you've got, the size of the maps you've got there as well, which is huge. The Xbox One just hasn't got the CPU power to run it. You're stuck in one basically pause or play. There's no speeding up of time. They've said it is, yes, it's down to CPU, but they want people to sort of take their time with the game, sort of enjoy the whole process of it all, rather than building, fast forwarding, see what happens, starting a new map kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I can fully understand, really. I don't feel the need while I'm playing the game to pause, build up an area, press play, because I feel like I'm going to miss out on something. But then there are times when I'm like, gosh, I wish I had some money quicker. Because you can play it where you're building up. You build up a residential area, you build up a commercial area, and you make money based on your taxes and all things like that.
Yeah.
And that's how you make your money. Or you can just go unlimited money, everything's unlocked, and just build this crazy big area.
That's how I'd play.
Yeah, see, I started that, then...
God mode.
It is just God mode. It really is. And it's kind of like... back in the day when I used to play Sims, all I would do is cheat for my money, build a cool house, that was it.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's like with the city. But now I would never, father a family and see them through their days. But that's what I'm doing. I find that a lot more pleasing.
Well, I guess that is, there's only so much you can play a game with unlimited money enabled, because it kind of removes the game. You just kind of you get a bit of kick out of it. But this sounds like, oh God, it sounds like I don't know if I've got I've got it in me to put myself into those games anymore, to be honest.
I've realised that it's one of those games where I'm addicted for a week solid, and then I've got like literally like my last 2 days I've been burnt out. I'll get home from work and I go to sleep.
Yeah,
it has destroyed me a bit. I haven't been on it for 2 days now.
I think I can imagine. I think
it's dangerous.
Yeah, I'm playing. I can only play things in short bursts at the moment. I haven't got it in me to devote, because, well, I'm putting it elsewhere. For one, work. Secondly, I'm still trying to watch films and so on. I'm catching up with any time I have. I'm loving Dexter. I'm on the 4th series, which is the one everyone says is fucking brilliant.
With the Trinity Killer.
Yeah, so don't tell me a thing, because I'm only a couple of 2 or 3 episodes in.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm bloody enjoying that.
Good.
I'm also, I'm watching in my own time, because I need something like Dexter. While I can only watch Dexter with my missus, which is killing me. But I'm watching Hannibal, because it's by the showrunner's Brian Fuller, the guy who is showrunning something we're going to be talking about towards the end of our podcast.
Yeah.
So keep an ear out for that in a minute. But yeah, so City Skylines sounds like the kind of thing that you got to kind of clear your palate, you got to clear your plate, ready for.
It fully does eat all your time. You can't just sit on it. For me anyway, I can't just go on it for an hour. I'm on there for 5 solid, and then I realise I haven't eaten, and I'm at work soon. Yeah,
see, I'd love to put that into a game. I used to, but God, I don't know if I have it in me at the moment. At least, like I say, at the moment at least. But so you recommend it? You'd say it does what it's set out to do.
It does exactly what it is. For me, I wanted that kick of like Transport Tycoon. That's like one of my all-time top games. It gives me that feeling of planning networks, which is quite a sad thing to say when you think about it. But hey, it's pleasing as anything.
I know what you mean. It is like you say. It's that they get that kind of hook, that hook of gaming down to a formula. And it's like you get the endorphin, you get the rush of every time you see your buildings progress, so you see that money go into the bank or whatever. You do. It's a hook. They know how to get you addicted.
Yeah, and you get addicted hard.
Yeah, I bet. I can empathise with you, if not totally give myself over to it.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I've got to say on that. I would give it I'm gonna go 8 out of 10 again.
Solid 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Xbox One version.
Cool.
Like PC,
maybe
get all the mods and stuff.
And are you playing it with
amazing.
You're playing it with a pad, are you?
Yeah.
Is that how's that hold up?
They've done it quite well.
I imagine it is kind of a game that is needing a mouse and keyboard to a degree.
There is, especially when you're trying to like select. You want to be like building on this particular key. No, it's like particular sort of like snap place. You know what I mean? You're placing your road in a certain area, and if you're using your clunky joystick, you end up going backwards and forth a lot of times.
Yeah, I bet.
But they've done it fairly well, and the whole menu system, it all kind of works. There is a few glitches, like there's one where you're in demolish mode, basically. If you press Y, you get stuck in demolish mode. Yeah, you get stuck in that mode. So you have to save the game, load it up again.
That sounds...
And it's very easy to press Y. When you're trying to speed through doing everything dead quick, you press the wrong key and it annoys you.
Yeah, okay. That sounds good.
But yeah, solid game. Gear to go.
I'm going to tell you about something I watched again.
Go.
In anticipation of the film, probably the next, I think it's fair to say the next big tentpole release of May at least is Ridley Scott's return to, the official Alien canon with Alien Covenant.
Yes.
After his little dalliance with the Prometheans. So, in anticipation, they released this prologue called, this little couple of minute prologue, which is kind of meant to somewhat bridge a gap between Prometheus and Alien Covenant. Before that, I'd been meaning to rewatch Prometheus because I haven't seen it since it came out, and I was wholeheartedly disappointed, like many people were. Promised some form of Alien prequel. What we got was kind of a prequel to something that might one day be an Alien prequel. And I thought, a lot like many people, it was wholly disappointing, poorly written, shit characters, a frankly silly narrative that kind of never went anywhere, and a wholehearted slog and a disappointment. I'd been meaning to give it another go in beforehand.
Yeah.
And I did. I got it on Blu-ray for like £1.50, which was not too shabby.
Solid purchase. And it is a film to watch on Blu-ray because, to give it due props, it's a fantastic looking film. From those opening shots of this, it's all shot in Iceland because that's what anyone does. Just ask Christopher Nolan and watch Inception. Not Inception, watch Interstellar. It's all just fucking... It looks great. And it does, to be fair, Ridley Scott can never be accused of making a film that hasn't looked really good. It's what he does. But the problem with it is, and like I say, it's not that bad. It's not a bad film. If it had been released without the weight of expectation or the kind of alien promise behind it, they promise to answer questions, which it never does, it would have been regarded as a totally solid, pretty passable sci-fi film that looked great. And it does. Like I say, I can't stress that enough. The film looks really proper sci-fi, bold landscapes, big fucking ships and stuff. The thing is, it's just a badly written film with shit characters, and it's real sad to say that because there's so many great kind of British character actors, from obviously Idris Elba, who's unfathomably bad in it, who can't do, which is odd because Idris Elba I first encountered as Stringer Bell in The Wire, before I knew he was a Brit, before I knew he was from South London. And I thought he was American. His accent work was so good. So why he can't pull off his kind of Texan Southern drawl that he does in Prometheus, I don't know, but it's bloody awful. There's a lot of kind of... There are themes in it that are interesting, but it never quite concedes them. Every time Fassbender's on screen as David, he's really fucking good. From those opening moments where he's kind of modelling himself on Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia, there are kind of really nice little moments, but you kind of attribute that more to Fassbender than I think anyone else. Charlize Theron's pretty lacking, and she's great. It's a shame to see her, Sean Harris plays the fucking maps guy who gets lost, which again it's so easy to take the piss out of those kind of elements of the film. And the biology expert who goes up to this unknown alien snake thing. It's like, goo, and tries to tickle it, and then obviously gets it deep throats him and kills him. Basically. It's like, just fucking, there's a lot of stupid stuff. That's Ray Spall does that. That's it. I haven't seen the film, but I've definitely heard about the film's just full of bad mistakes, like
just
terrible
stupid,
decisions,
bad writing, it's silly. It's just silly, and it's easy to take piss off. And obviously, what has been most mocked is just run to the left or to the right when this giant donut is incredibly slowly rolling towards you, and they just run in a dead straight line. And then Naomi Rapace's character has the idea of, I'll roll over to the side, and she does, and it misses her. And then Charlize Theron still tries to carry on running, and it's so silly. It's just like how you can kind of, I don't know, invest stakes in something that kind of can't, you just don't buy it, and that's a bit of a shame. But it's not a bad film, and I kind of have to give it that. It's not a bad film, it's just a kind of not very well written, silly film. But yeah,
does it always make you wonder, actors, they're filming scenes like that, are they not questioning the director, like, do you know how stupid this looks?
To be honest, when they're filming scenes like that, they're not seeing what's going on around.
They must have an idea, though.
They're just on a green screen for that.
Yeah, I know. But they must be like, okay, so this big thing's rolling towards you. You're running from it. She's going to drive out of the way eventually. You're going to keep running.
It's an odd one.
Why aren't I driving out of the way, sir?
It's not really worth putting the time in to try and fathom that. But it's what it does have that always annoyed me, which I noticed from the first one, was this was built as a film that was going to kind of give answers, give a kind of semblance of kind of origin to the xenomorphs from the Alien films. And there's this bit towards the end where the main character, Naomi Rapace's character, is kind of like, no, like, we need to go on, we need to fly to their home planet, I deserve answers. And I'm like, hang on a second, I'm the one who sat through your fucking ship. Can I have some of the answers as opposed to watching you jump on a ship and fly off and then the credits rolling? Like, give your audience some credit, like, Jesus. So I find it a frustrating film, but I don't know, we'll see. I'm pretty excited for the new Alien, to be fair. So I guess we'll take it from there and see what happens.
I need to get hyped. I haven't seen Prometheus. I need to watch that because I'm booked to go see it a week on Friday. I'm going. Yeah. I'm in there.
Have you seen the other Alien film?
No, I need to do that and all probably.
Shit, man, just watch Alien 1 and 2 and you're in for a fucking great time. Alien is like a really amazing science fiction horror. Aliens is one of the best action films of all time. You've got to give some love to Bill Paxton as well, who passed away like last month. So yeah, watch that, you nutter.
I'll nut all over them.
Anyway, we've got something to plug now.
Plug!
What dropped today, well, as of recording, which is May 1st, is what we've been kind of chatting about for a while, and I've been hyping quite extensively because it's based on one of my favorite books, is American Gods, which is in the UK out as a Netflix original.
Netflix or
showrunner.
Amazon?
That's what I said, sorry. Amazon original. Did I say I could say Netflix or not? Whatever. We'll cut it. We'll sort that in post.
Same thing.
Just leave it in. Anyway, I'm so swayed, I'll just go with whatever. Point is, yeah, Brian Fuller showrun TV show, American Gods. It's going to be massive. What we're going to be doing is doing a weekly instant reaction video, review podcast on every episode as it comes out by the week, where you will hear our instant reaction reviews and a little bit of thought on it from a total newbie, Martin, who hasn't read the book, and from someone who's got quite a bit invested in it.
Believe it or not, Martin hasn't seen it and Luigi has.
Sneak peek at first episode: a woman eats a man with her vagina.
Oh, I can't wait!
That's all I'm giving you, man, and that legitimately happens. It's bloody, it's edgy, it's glossy, it's a fucking class act. Like, that show, they've put a lot behind it. It looks the part. It's a glossy production. That's all I'll say. But I don't want to say any more than that because, yeah, it's one to get excited about and, watch this space because we're going to be talking about it a lot more.
Watch it. I would just say I saw a very short thing that someone wrote about American Gods is Game of Thrones with gods.
Kind of. The opening's very Game of Thrones. Just watch it. We're going to be doing our instant reaction over the next couple of days. You'll be able to find that on, obviously, your podcast provider, on YouTube. We're going to link it on Facebook, on Instagram, all that shit and more.
All that shit and more.
Cool. I think that's a good place to sign off, unless Martin's got anything to conclude.
I'll just conclude that I think I look pretty today. Bye.